Hello, and welcome to this episode of Next Sell Over. I'm your host, Jenna Moser, fractional COO and strategic growth partner. And this is the podcast where we get out of the weeds and talk about what it actually takes to grow a lean, high profit business. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Allie Bice, Polk accounting survivor, former C-suite exec turned small business owner, who's also the founder of BookTrue, a company focused on empowering creative entrepreneurs by providing financial support that speaks their language. I met Allie a couple weeks ago and found out we had so many things in common. Plus, she's totally crushing it online. So I could not wait to have her on the podcast. It's going to be such a fun conversation. So, Allie, thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jenna. It has been great to connect with you and learn a little bit about you and your life. I feel like we have a lot of similarities, like you've stated. It has been such a great opportunity to connect with people online. And so the fact that we were able to do that it just opens up a lot of different doors like this opportunity. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And now we're here. So
Yeah, now we're here.
let's just start with the basics. So, like, how big is your team? Are you a team? Are you just one? And how many clients are you currently serving?
Yeah, we are currently a mighty team of one. It is me, myself, and I. Well, I'll say that. I'll throw in my husband as well because he is my sounding board. He helps with my website, and he's also actually, funny enough, a CPA. So we get to bounce some ideas around, and it makes for a great dinner table discussion. So yeah, imagine how fun it is over at our house. But no, it's really great to be able to step into this field and have his support. And I don't even know if we talked about this, but BookTrue is the company, of course, that I own, and I started it just back in March. So we are pretty fresh, right? Just getting started, and it has been wild. We have got 10 clients so far. That journey, I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit, has been extremely rewarding and just very, very grateful to just getting started with so many clients right off the bat, but it has its challenges, and excited to share that and hear from your other guests that you have on the
Yeah.
podcast to hear what their experiences are as well.
No, that's awesome. And that's a good problem to have, right? Like a good
Yeah.
start of, that's yeah, awesome. And it's funny you mentioned like your husband. My husband has self-appointed himself as my chief strategy officer.
I
So,
love that.
so that's funny that you mentioned your husband. They have, sometimes they have good ideas. Otherwise, it's just like, I don't know. Like you stay in your lane and I'll go in.
Yeah. Right. We'll let them have a say. If
Yeah.
they, yeah, chief strategy officer. I love that. That is awesome.
So, what kind of services does BookTrue provide, and like what kind of value can they see, by working with you?
Yeah, so currently we're offering bookkeeping, payroll, and fractional CFO support. And really, what makes BookTrue different than, say, your traditional bookkeeping company is we take very much a people first approach, right? So the numbers, they're incredibly important, and that's often why people seek us out. But our approach is completely tailored to the individuals, the minds behind the business, because what we have found is that your financials, they tell a story, right? They tell the story of what's happened in your business. They can tell you what the future is going to be if you know how to read them and interpret them. But we found that a lot of our clients, may not have the financial literacy that, they need at their current state, right? They may not have the experience that a fractional CFO or, just maybe they skipped their accounting classes in college, right? Like, I don't blame them for that. But everybody is at a different financial literacy. So, what we do is we try to meet each client where they're at in their journey and then be able to start coaching them on their financials and to get to a point where they can understand them, right? And it's not necessarily like, oh gosh, you're going to get your first report from BookTrue. Man, I know finances now, right? That's not what we expect from our clients. We don't expect them to know everything or understand everything right off the bat, but we want to help tell the story of here's a piece of your finance, right? Here's, let's say that you tried a new pricing approach, right? Well, in 6 weeks or however long period, we're going to check back in on your finances and we're going to see how that pricing strategy worked. Did you make more profit margin? Did you not? That's the kind of value that we let people know is possible, right? So that's really where we go, is we start to really figure out where they're at and then where they want to go, and we build with them from there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because I feel like sometimes like people have the expectation of like when you have a bookkeeper, they're just like do your books, give you a report, and like that's it. But like if you didn't take, accounting classes or like have any sort of like foundational business background, it's like, okay, what does this mean? Like, how do I make decisions from this? So I think that's awesome that you guys really help, your clients understand like what their business is doing and ultimately how to make decisions to, help their business. So that's awesome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
cool. So okay, so you said this just started in March, which like is still super mind blowing. So
Feels that way.
what would you say is like one of the biggest wins that you've had recently that has helped your business move forward, or like if there was one specific thing that like really like propelled you forward? I mean, like 10 clients, like that's crazy. So are you able to like pinpoint one thing that help you get there?
Yeah, well, I would say referrals. Referrals are huge, right? I'd say actually all of my clients, aside from one, came through from referrals, right? And it's building trust, right? If you have a client that trust you to do work and do good work and be able to deliver for them, they're going to let somebody else know. And then they're going to let somebody else know. And from there, that's been something that from day one, just having great people in my corner, having those people that have faith in me and know that, I'm going to do the best job I possibly can for them. I think that's been a game changer just in terms of being able to get clients on quickly and be able to deliver for them.
Yeah, I think definitely implementing some sort of like referral system is like key to any business. I mean, that's how I started my business. Like, I didn't do any sort of marketing or like ads or promotion or anything for like the first, I don't know, year, 18 months. Like, it was literally just like word of mouth. And like, that is honestly like the truest or like the best like compliment, honestly, because like when people
Absolutely.
believe in you, like they're gonna, tell all their friends. And then that to me, honestly, like is better than some random person coming to me that like wants help, like if it's someone that I already have some sort of connection with, I feel like that just like makes it even that more special.
Yeah, it does. And also finding people that are in the same space as you, finding those partners, you know, potential vendors. Like for me, I've got a great relationship with a bank here in town, and we've worked together for, gosh, 6 years with my former career. So going into this next chapter, they had eyes open for me and they said, if we find a good client, tell us which ones you want. We're going to keep you in the loop. And they were actually able to give some referrals as well. So it's looking at your relationships when you're starting a business, right? And what are those genuine relationships where people know you, they know your work, and they're going to support you, and just making sure that they know what you're doing, right? And it's so funny because I feel like when you're first starting out, you have an idea of what your target client is, right? So it's like, oh, okay, I want this type of client. They've got to have $1 million in revenue. They've got to have XYZ, and that's who I want.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Does this sound a little familiar, Jenna?
Yeah.
Well, and it's great to have that in mind, because I think you do, as a new business owner, you have to have some type of vision, but having flexibility behind that. Because I'll tell you, if you had asked me that question right when I started, I would have given you an answer of, all right, my client is $500,000 in annual revenue, a service-based business, and I think that's what I need. Yeah, that's it. And now, if you ask me that question, I'm going to be a lot more specific. I'm looking for creative entrepreneurs who are passionate about their books. They've, and a lot more driven into the profile of
Mm.
who that target client is.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm on like ideal client D. If there's like A, B, C, D, like I feel like I mean, like when you first start out, like, you don't know. Like it might like you might have someone like in mind and then, come to find out like working with him, like no, like I do not like working
Yeah.
with these type of people. And so like I think yes, being willing to change and pivot and really find who you connect with and are able to support the best. I think that's totally I mean, yeah, I've changed
Yeah, absolutely.
just trying to find the best match, because
Yeah.
you don't want it to feel like work. Like at the end of the day, like I don't know, I just want to be able to help people. And so
Absolutely. And I love that you said that too, because I've done, gosh, so 6 months in, it's time to reflect, right? So I've been doing some reflecting on my business and, how much my company has evolved over the past 6 months. And, I talk to my clients a lot about the why behind their business, right? You've got your mission statement that's found on your website that tells the community, okay, here's what I'll do for you. But there's also a component that, in my opinion, is more valuable and is what is the why for you, the entrepreneur, the business person, the person who crafted that awesome mission statement, right? What is your why? What is it that you're going to get out of your business? And Jenna, it sounds like for you, you want to help people, right? And you know yourself, you know what you can provide. Now it sounds like you're on version D of finding that client, which is great because it's trial and error, but you know the type of client that you work best with and that you can help the most. And I think being honest about that and what drives you as an entrepreneur yourself is so incredibly valuable. And so also a little fun thing here. I feel like your books, your financials will really help tell the story of the person as well. So that's a fun little insight that we have is like, okay, well, you can get to know somebody through calls and texts, but you actually get to see it in action with the books. So that's a fun little nuance that I've recently started paying more attention to and trying to be intentional with people as hey, what do your financials tell about you
yeah,
too?
yeah, because that is some very intimate and vulnerable information. Because like people don't talk about finances, right? Like it's like this taboo of like no one really knows except your bookkeeper of like who you truly are.
Yeah.
So like your role is like super. I don't know what I was gonna say. Valuable. That's not the right word. What was I gonna say? A special. I don't know. Special isn't the right word either. But like as a bookkeeper or like someone in the financial space, like I would take my role like super serious because like they
Mhm.
have to be vulnerable enough to like share that information with you.
So true.
So like I would take it so seriously. And it was a previous episode, I think, where we talked about, yeah, like if your why isn't strong enough or if you don't have a why, like it is very easy to like get burnt out or just forget why you even started this. And then, ultimately you just close up shop and like your why needs to
Yeah.
be something that motivates you day in and day out because owning your business is hard. And like people don't really talk about that. And so like if you don't have a strong why, like it's really easy to just, walk away. So
Yeah, it is. And it's, what I've noticed too is that your why can change and that's okay, right? I think that having grace for whatever phase of life you're in, whatever's going on, that why is going to change. What's going to be most important to you in one season of life may not be
yeah.
another. And so constantly checking in and being aware of, okay, hey, here's what I'm excited about today. Here's what's going to take my business or me to the next level.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, okay, let's flip it now. What would you say is like a mistake that you made that maybe ended up either teaching you something valuable or helped open, a different door? Like what would you say
Yeah.
that would be?
So you're saying I have to pick one? Gosh, I feel like the first, gosh, I don't know. You can tell me how long it takes for you to not feel like it's just constant trial and error. But no, I'd say against my better judgment, I offered too many services right off the bat, right? I initially had offered tax services as well. And I do do taxes for some of my clients, but to be able to really provide the value in the service that I want for each client, I took on too much. And it was, learning a lot of different systems. I knew how to do the work, I was good at doing the work. But it was a lot of work, right? And these 10 clients, they are really important 10 clients to me. And I wanted to make sure that I could provide everything that I could. And so I got to the point where I was like, okay, I've got awesome clients. I've got great systems that I'm using. What's going on? Something's not right, right? We got to change a dial on something. And I realized I was like, I don't love doing taxes. Confession right here is like, oh gosh, to admit that to myself, a former tax accountant, like I don't like doing taxes anymore. That's crazy. I think taxes are incredibly important. It's a area where I feel like is being very underserved across the market. It's one that, I've come to find that unless you're passionate about it, it's not for you.
You're right.
I love to make sure that books and support actually can benefit a tax preparer. I just don't want to be one anymore. So that was a tough lesson to learn that, okay, maybe I took on too much and I need to scale back. And that was the way to do it for me.
No, that's good. I feel like I've had a similar mistake. Like in the beginning, I started doing just like anything and everything, like whatever anyone wanted me to do. And then I was like, whoa, like I need to like scale this back, like find some boundaries. 'Cause, yeah, like it was just
Yeah.
too.
No, I'm glad you said that because boundaries, it's so hard at the beginning. It is because a lot of people, at least for me, I was coming out of the employee situation, right? Like I'm used to being an employee. I,
Yeah,
worked really hard. And now, you're a business owner. You can't be everyone's employee,
right.
right? And if you don't set those boundaries, it's a slippery slope.
Which I think is like, I don't know, it's kind of because like you need to have those in the beginning, but like also in the beginning, that's when it's like the hardest to have those because like you're just trying to figure everything out. So it's like, it's so hard. That was
Yeah.
something I wish I would have definitely done better. But like no one tells you that, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're just
Yeah.
getting started.
No, exactly. I feel like there's a lot that, and maybe people just block it out of their minds. Like the first few years of owning a business, it's a crazy experience, but there's a few things that I wish that I would have known right off the bat, and like the not so pretty things. Like for instance, one thing that I found out right off the bat coming from an employee situation, right? Like I left the company that I was with and started my own business, and I was previously in the office every day, all day, and then now I'm doing virtual bookkeeping. So we service, people across the country. So we don't actually have face-to-face meetings with people every day or, hardly ever. And so what I found is that it can be really lonely at first. You know, it can feel really isolating because I don't want to say everything is a struggle right off the bat, right? Some people might be able to jump in because they've been doing things for a long time, but when you're building out your systems, when you're learning new softwares, when you're the one who handles the good, the bad, the ugly, and if you don't have people in your corner, if you don't have, a steady mind, something to ground yourself, it can be lonely and it can tear you down and it can make you, want to give up at times. So I think that that's something that, I want to help push the other entrepreneurs and say, look, especially my clients, you're not alone. You can call me. I mean, my clients do call me. Sometimes I feel like most of the calls that I take are not actually finance related, but hey, I've got this wild idea. Do you want to bounce it around with me? Like, yeah, I do because it's important to be there for people. And, it may be 30 minutes of my time that is not being billed, but for me, being able to invest in somebody and let them know that, hey, I'm here for you, that pays dividends in the long run. That's a client that, will stay with you because they trust you and they know that, they can share the good, the bad, the ugly of their books, right? Because that's what it goes back to is that you are giving, like in my position, your financial partner access to all of your business, right? I've got access to bank accounts, credit cards, just from, the needs of being able to provide for them. And that takes a lot of trust and being there for somebody.
No, I totally agree. Like I say, like at the end of the day, like yes, like you're a business owner, I'm a business owner, but like we're both human as well.
Yeah.
And like no human wants anything more than just to like feel valued and cared and like heard. And so like that is like I try and lead like with service first. Like, you're a human. Like, I want you to know, like, I truly care about you. Like, yes, like we have our business, but like that's not even like
Yeah.
important to me. You know, like you are a person first. And so like just to have that mindset, I think like totally changes how you know, service your clients. And
Yeah.
I think it's super important. But
It is. It is. And especially for clients that you don't get to meet face to face, right? Like a number of my clients, I have never met them in person, right? Like we Zoom, one of my clients, we've only Zoomed one time just from from us bouncing around. How do you build that connection? And that's been something that I've actually really enjoyed is how do you connect with people that you don't necessarily, maybe they're not ones to pick up the phone every day and call you. And that's okay. But how do you connect with them to let them know that you're here to support them? You've got their back, and it's been fun to think about those little things and make those connections with people.
yeah, no, I agree. Also like struggled in the beginning with like at first I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm, by myself, like it was kind of nice and like chill and quiet, but then it was like, okay, yeah, like this is lonely. Like I want to see like because well, when I first started, I had like a little baby, so I was like, I need some like adult interaction and like I don't know, like I think support or finding like that support system when you are about to start your own business is something like I think everyone should have before start. Like I didn't have that. I mean, like my husband was supportive, yes, but like
Hmm.
my friends like didn't understand. Like my family still doesn't really understand like what I
Sure.
do. And so to find those people that understand what you're going through and like what it actually takes to be a business owner, I think is like so important when starting a business because no one talks about that. Like they're just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, start your own business. Like it's great, but it's like no, like you need to
Yes.
have those people. Otherwise, yes, it's totally isolating and like depressing, honestly.
No, 100%. And that's like if I had to think about it and make a recommendation to somebody who's starting their business from day one is like what's one piece of advice that I would give? For me, that it would be to find a mentor, right? To find that person. And it's great if that's somebody in the same industry or field that you're in, but it doesn't have to be. I would recommend somebody who has started their own business and can share some of the insights from it because that's the person that you can call when things just don't make sense. Like, gosh, I am stuck on, sales, right? Like, how did you find sales as a, XYZ person? And to have that, and I was very fortunate to identify that person early on. And we had worked together in the past too, so we were already kind of in sync from a business perspective. And so now we get to have those conversations and gosh, we meet every couple weeks actually, and just we talk shop like, hey, what's working, what's not working, and to be able to have that, that's a part of the grounding system, right? That's what keeps you sane during this,
For sure.
and you get answers to some of your questions.
Yeah, because like yeah, if you don't like, I don't know. I feel like I have so many questions, but I was like, who do I
Yeah.
even ask these to? Like, would they even understand? Like, I mean, my husband is getting to know this industry more, and like I'm able to like ask him some stuff, but like it's just like, oh my gosh, like you don't fully understand it unless you've been in it. So I definitely
Yeah.
agree with like trying to find someone who's been where you are, but obviously it's like farther along because like then they can help lean off of their experience. But yes, definitely someone who has been there and like understands what it truly takes.
Right.
Awesome.
Right. Absolutely.
You are very lucky.
I am very fortunate, very grateful for that.
So you mentioned it kind of earlier of like back when we were talking about like the financial literacy and meeting your client where they are and helping them understand because like numbers don't lie, right? Everyone's data is telling a story, so it's like, do you understand the story it's telling you?
Yeah.
So what would you say are like the most important KPIs or metrics that you track consistently or help your clients really understand to help them make the best decisions for their business?
Yeah. I'd say, when we look at KPIs and talk about them, of course, as I stated earlier, I really try to look at the financial literacy, or really where is this person in the phase of their business, right? And the very first thing that I tackle is, what concerns do they have? What areas are they constantly, bringing up to me? Right? Is it that they're not sure about this specific category on their books, right? They know something's off when they come to me. So they already have questions in their mind. And what I do first is I download what those questions are and I answer their questions. And then we'll start to build KPIs from there, right? So that they've got comfort that that's being addressed each stage, right? Because the very first thing to build that trust is to listen and deliver on that. So I'd say, it looks different for each client, and depending on where their areas of concern are and what industry they are, that's where we start from there. And then once they get comfortable, once they start to build that financial literacy and they start to listen to the story that their books are telling them. And what I think is really important too is that right off the bat, we're in a world where everybody wants the instant gratification, right? They want everything done right now. They want it right. And I think that is absolutely something that you can expect from a bookkeeper. If you're hiring somebody, you can expect it to be right. And if you ever have concerns about that, I always recommend to get a second opinion. But I think, if you've got a client who is not comfortable with their books, they think something's off, then they don't trust their numbers. They don't trust that story. And to their credit, it could be telling the wrong story, right? Like if the data is missing, I mean, there have been many times where there have been, $100,000 of missing transactions in their books. So they have no idea where they're at financially. And so getting that foundation of our starting point is to make sure that your books are right,
Yeah.
right? And then from there, we can actually trust the numbers. We know that they're true. And then we can build the story from what
Mhm.
information we have. But I think the very first thing is understanding that your books may not be right. If you're asking questions as somebody who's not as financially literate, you're probably on to something.
Yeah, for sure. So, what would you say, or how would you tell someone, like, how to, I guess, get that assurance that their books are right? Be like before they come to you, like, right? Like, if they're
Yeah.
working with some other, just, there's a bookkeeping market is so saturated. I feel like, just people who just, oh, I do bookkeeping, but like, do you really understand like what you're doing? So, like,
Yeah,
how would
yeah. What is
you,
bookkeeping to you? Yeah.
how do you get that awareness of like, okay, yeah, like my books are right. Like if someone, before they come to you, obviously I know you're gonna do excellent work and like their books are gonna be right, but like
Yeah.
someone coming to you, like how do they know or get that assurance that, or maybe what should they look for to see like, okay, maybe something is off here.
Yeah, I would say, well, so a lot of the clients that I have, it depends again where they are in their process, right? If a bookkeeper is working with them, let's say that they're using QuickBooks, right? If we see right off the bat that their accounts haven't been reconciled, that's a real big red flag right there, right? If you're paying somebody to do your books for you, the first thing is that your books should you reconcile to your bank statements. Depending on what services you've engaged them for, at a minimum, you need to make sure that your bank statements and credit cards are constantly reconciled. So if that's not being done, that's the first sign that maybe there's some issues there. A lot of times I work with clients that have systems outside of, in full disclosure, we use QuickBooks, so I'm going to reference that. But they also work with systems outside. Like for instance, I've got clients that work in Service Titan, right? So they're a franchise and QuickBooks has an integration and all their sales data is done in Service Titan. So when the data in Service Titan doesn't line up with what's in QuickBooks, that's another red flag, right? If your sales seem off, there's probably a reason for that, right? I think that there's little clues, and I think that The entrepreneurs are really smart. They're actually really, really smart about their businesses in terms of getting that inkling of, hey, maybe something may not be right because I know sales shouldn't be that high. People just, generally from what I've experienced, they just know certain areas are not right. So I would start with, like I said, the reconciliation, and that's the first test to really validate that, okay, your sales and your bank statements are correct.
Okay, that's a good one. Also, like just stressing them of like knowing your data, like knowing your numbers, so that you're easily able to like, okay, yeah, like historically about like this percent. Why is this
Yeah.
showing this? Like, I think it's so important because so many business people owners like don't, I feel like, understand that value, and I'm like, how do you like make any sort of decision if you don't understand like what your business is telling you? So like I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like people should be looking at their numbers at least weekly, if not daily, just to like you're able to, yes, understand, okay, something is definitely not right, or this looks off. Like, but you wouldn't know that if you only look at your numbers once a month, once a quarter.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like a lot about that could be very intimidating is the sheer amount of volume that you have to digest. Like, let's say that, the goal would be to look at it daily. How many different reports do you have to look at to get that information? Have you streamlined your processes? Have you streamlined your financial systems so you can just go into QuickBooks and pull a report of the data that you need to see? You can pull a cash flow analysis and be able to download that information because from, what I've noticed, again, going back to it, is people want information quickly and they need to be able to access it easily. Right. And so the more steps you build into somebody having to go in to get that information, the less likely they're going to be able to do it. So, I think it's, again, it goes back to the person behind the business and understanding, what information do they need to understand their numbers, and then building a platform and building reports to be able to give them that information in a way that they can digest it. And again, it's different for each person. Somebody may want a 20-page report that they review in detail. I've got clients like that, and you know what? They're awesome clients. Like, that's great. I love that they want to know all of the details of their accounts. But there's others that, hey, give me a pulse check. What's the summary here, right? What do I need to do? Because I want to be out doing something else. I don't want to sit here and talk to you, Allie, like you're great, but no, let's just go. And that's awesome too. It's hard because I've got a passion for efficiency. And when you have a lot of different deliverables to clients, that can be a lot to manage, and that can make, you as the business owner tougher on you. And so I think it's more of Allie, the business owner, I want to be able to provide a certain level to my clients. How can I build that out for me so I can deliver to them the best way possible? And so that's a piece that I'm working on internally to be able to deliver those custom reports to them so that they know, so they can trust it.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally am on board with that. I feel the same way. I like to actually like, because yes, it's so time, if you're looking at your numbers daily or weekly, it is very time consuming to like pull your financial numbers from QuickBooks and your sales information from your CRM and like your Google Analytics data from, like, it's all over the place. It takes forever. So like I am very passionate about like streamlining all that into like one dash that updates automatically in real time so that you can see like at any time where your business is at, not just your financials or not just your marketing data, like as a whole, like what is your business doing? That way you're not wasting time just downloading reports. Like it's all in one
Yeah.
place. And I feel like just makes that process so much easier. And then you don't dread looking at your numbers, right? Because it's right there. You didn't have to do any work.
Yeah, and you know what I love about this too? This is, you just reminded me of something when we were talking about dashboards, is a lot of clients love pictures.
Yes.
They love graphs. Numbers are what? That doesn't make any sense, but you put it in a graph or a chart. Wow, that is a lot that's in meals and entertainment right there. We need to cut that out. That should not be as big a the circle as it is. So, yeah, it's communicating, right? It's a different way of
Yeah.
communicating. I love that.
I feel like that would also help your financial literacy, right? Like it's so much easier to like show someone, okay, this number is going up. That means good. Like this number is going
Here's a green arrow.
up.
Yes.
It's so much easier to help them understand like what's happening versus like just numbers in a spreadsheet or like, a 20-page report. Like if you don't understand how to interpret that data, like it's so hard and overwhelming, I think, to look at your data. Putting it in a easy, pretty, pretty picture is very helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
You already kind of like mentioned, like if you could go back, when you started your own business, what, one piece of advice would it be? And that was to find your mentor. But what would your advice be for someone who's like just starting to take their business seriously?
Yeah.
Maybe they, have been in a plateau and like now they're ready to, all right, fire on all cylinders. Like, let's get going. Like, what would you say to them for that?
Yeah, I would say, I guess one of my first questions to them would be, okay, you're ready to take off. What does taking off look like? Right? Can you clearly communicate what the next step is or even what the end goal is? I think it's so great to have clarity around your vision. And I think a lot of times it's great. People dream up these different things like, oh, I want to hit, 100 million in sales. I want to hit 1 million in sales. And that is great. That is the starting point, right? You know the end goal. Okay,
Let's back it up.
how long is it going to take? Yeah, how long is it going to take to get there? All right, you get there in 5 years? Okay, let's back it up a little bit more. What does sales growth look like year over year? You've done 10% growth for the past 2 years. You're going to need 25 the next year, 50 the next year, however long that is to hit that $1 million in sale. Okay, that's great. We have those goals. How are you going to market your services to hit that growth, right? It's tailored and it's a system that I think can be fleshed out, and I think it's best fleshed out with another person. It's great that you as the entrepreneur have a starting point, but having somebody, maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's a financial partner. Like that's something that we do at BookTrue is, we talk about goals, we talk about how to reach them, but having somebody to bounce those ideas around so you can build out the plan to make that happen. It's like you keep dreaming, and then as soon as you get done dreaming, let's figure out how to make it a reality.
Right. Yeah. No, that's super important because like what is the next step? Like it's
Yeah.
otherwise you just like paralyze yourself and like then you just don't go anywhere.
Yeah, or you get frustrated. Yeah, you get frustrated because you're not seeing success. You're not seeing what the end goal could be, and that's where a lot of people give up. They get in their mind that a certain thing has to happen a certain way, and that is rule number one of owning a business is nothing will go the way that you
Right.
think it will. But you can have a plan, and it's important to have a plan. And it's important to know when to deviate as
Right.
well.
For sure. Well, before we wrap up, where can people connect with you, learn more about you? Like where are you at on social?
Yeah, yeah. So a little bit of everywhere these days, right? You can always reach us at our website. It is www.booktrue, BOOKTRU.com. And we are on Instagram as well. So it's at BookTrue, BOOKTRU, and it's underscore. That is where you'll probably see us the most these days. I've been having a fun time with that. And we're also on Facebook as well. And you can find me, Allie Bice, on LinkedIn.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was such a great conversation with Allie. Again, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to share your story and insights with us. If you got value from today's episode, follow Next Sell Over wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you know a bookkeeper, a CFO, or founder who's scaling a lean team and would enjoy this conversation, send it their way. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.